All right, welcome to the SNG Weekly Wrap Up. It is good to be back. Good to be doing this on Master Sunday. We missed last week because of Easter, but we are still trucking through with our brackets. I'm quite excited about this week. I'm always excited for these, but I think this is the most different that we've been in our 3 weeks of brackets. So far, remind me of the winners. Do we have Mick Jagger and Jack Black so far?
The whole
Rolling
Rolling
Stones
Oh, we
Stones.
itself,
have the
yeah.
whole Rolling
Yeah.
Stones, and then Jack Black so far. Um, so we haven't gone away from people. Let's see if we can get an inanimate object or perhaps an era to win this week. But how's everyone doing? How are we doing? We ready to draft or
I
debate?
just I want to correct you. I don't think it's possible to have a person this week.
I'm looking right now. I think you're right.
Well,
It's
Jackie
gonna
Brown.
be
Jackie Brown.
We could have Jackie Brown, yeah. Which now that you've said it and spoken it into existence, we probably will have Jackie Brown.
I don't know. She's got a tough matchup in the first round.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
She's got a real tough
Yeah.
one. But
yeah. No,
these are some pretty good categories.
I'm excited for this. This should be good. Should we just get into it? Should we
Yeah,
just
let's
jump right
go.
into it?
Let's go.
So we'll do it as we always do. We each brought a region to the table. The person who brought the region will introduce the matchup. The other three will debate. The winner will move on, and eventually we will have a ridiculously random final four, which makes it the best. So let's get started in the Tarantino region. This is my region this week. I think there's going to be some contention about how I ranked these films. But I rank them in my personal favorite order. So that's the order you're getting this week. And we start with Inglorious Bastards, the 1 seed, going up against the 8 seed, rightfully named Hateful Eight. Where are we going on this one, boys?
Is the Hateful Eight your 8th most favorite Tarantino film?
Well, I put Kill Bill into one film.
Okay.
Because it was filmed at the same time and it was meant to be one film, and then he broke it up. And my dog still barking a week later. And then I took Death Proof off because I wanted the 8 seed to be Hateful Eight. But truthfully, Death Proof would have been 8. But other than that, Tarantino has 10 films, so
Okay.
there you go. But yes,
Well,
the
I
Hateful
guess
Eight
I'll
is the 8
I'll
seed
just
for
continue
this.
my thought, which is I didn't think the Hateful Eight was very good. It was long and drawn out, and as a Tarantino fan, I wasn't too interested. So I don't see it beating Inglourious Bastards, not in a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, Glorious Bastards to me is one of the better movies ever made.
This is tough for Dan.
I didn't hate Hateful Eight. I mean, I for Tarantino, it's definitely not quite up to par. I feel like there's a deeper meaning behind stuff that I just didn't care to ever look up. But I'm taking Inglourious Bastards here.
Okay. So that's 2-0. That's 2-0 to that
Yeah.
already. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen The Hateful Eight. I have seen Inglourious Bastards. I need to rewatch Inglourious Bastards because I respect that it is a good film in its own right, but just when I saw it, I just didn't like it. And I think I'd read a load of stuff about it. Was like when you're a kid and you first like fully like learn about World War II and you go into detail and you have loads of facts and stuff stored,
Yeah.
and key people and everything, and then I watched this like right after that, and I was just like, well, that's not true, that's not right. And I recognize like it's a fictitious kind of fantasy version of World War II, and like a sort of an alternate version of events, like of how World War II sort of played out. But that added to just a few like stylistic things I just really like didn't enjoy with it. So I haven't seen Hateful Eight, so it's kind of hard for me. It's either I back the one that I've seen and didn't like, or I back the one that I haven't seen because I don't like the other one. And maybe for the sake of making it 2-1 and keeping it even, I'll take the Hateful Eight on this occasion, on the off chance that it might be less annoying for me to watch. But still, Inglourious Bastards goes through.
I think you would very much dislike the Hateful Eight.
Okay.
Is my opinion. To me, it's a bad movie. I think it's a bad movie. But all right, Inglorious Bastards goes through. Just keep in mind that there was a vote against it. In case it does win, I want to see if we get another Jack Black full winner. All right, so we've got the 4 seed versus the 5 seed. We've got Tarantino's latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, up against his first film, Reservoir Dogs.
I'll start again on this. I'll start. Oh, not again, but I'll start on this one. I've seen Reservoir Dogs. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Reservoir Dogs is Reservoir Dogs. So I'm going to side with that. That is a Tarantino film that I have seen and I do like. Although I did hear very good things about Once Upon a Time, so I'll leave the vote up to the other two, who I'm sure are way more knowledgeable on both.
This is tough.
Joe, do you have any strong feelings?
I really don't. I really don't have strong for who advances, because I do like both films so much. I think as a whole, Reservoir Dogs is probably the stronger option. Once Upon a Time, really, to me, the ending is what kind of makes the movie. Since Dan voted Reservoir Dogs, I will vote Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay,
comes to you, AJ.
I'm definitely going Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I fell asleep during Once Upon a Time, and I never
Really?
got to the ending, so I don't know how it ends. I've watched Reservoir Dogs many times over. I think what I like most about Reservoir Dogs is that it's hard to keep an entire movie and keep the viewer interested without changing locations. Like, over 90% of the movie is in one location and you're still so engaged. And there are other movies that do that well, but I think it's pretty rare. And I think it does that beautifully. So I'm voting Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I think I just really enjoyed the theater experience of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I went at 10 a.m. It was me, my cousin Dan, and a bunch of old folks. And it was fantastic. And I just like DiCaprio and Pitt, but this one could have gone either way in terms of 4 or 5
You just
seed.
like him a bit?
No, DiCaprio and Pitt.
Oh.
But these, either one could have been the 4 seed, either one could have been the 5 seed. So I'm happy to see Reservoir Dogs go through. The 3 seed, or sorry, we'll go to the 2 versus 7. We've got Pulp Fiction as the 2 seed up against Jackie Brown, the 7 seed. I have a feeling I know where this one's going, but let's hear it.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction all day.
Yeah, it wasn't too much explanation. So unfortunately for
I think we put it through as a 3-0 and then
name.
save the explanation for the next round.
Yeah, I think so.
I do have a person's name in mind. I just remembered. So there still could be a person.
Yes, there is, but that would be an 8 seed over 1. So we'll see. But yeah, I just want to shout out Jackie Brown. I think it's an underrated movie, but
it is. It's a good film. But I think Pulp Fiction could have easily been the number 1 seed on this list. So it
should have been.
It's trucking along.
Definitely. All right, Dan. So we've got the 3 versus 6. I think this is the best first round matchup. Maybe second best, but you've got Django as the 3 seed up against Kill Bill as the 6 seed.
You guys are gonna have to go first because I haven't made up my mind yet. This is tough.
I'm Django all the way. I like Kill Bill. I like the the imagery of the car and the her background is a little interesting. I'm not one for like grotesque violence all the time. So I mean, not that Django isn't.
Yeah,
it's a little
some
more
grotesque
plot driven.
violence.
It's a little more plot driven. And combining them into, like, if you're a big Kill Bill fan, I can't imagine you would ever pick Django over both of them combined.
Yeah, right.
But to me, I like Django a lot more. I just my preference. But like if any other director did like Kill Bill type movie, I would watch 1 minute of it, probably turn it off.
Yes. Dan, AJ.
I would probably say Kill Bill. I'm not overly. I think I've seen both of these once, and so I'm not like overly familiar. I feel like Django was the kind of the start of a new era of Tarantino, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
If that's
Totally. Yeah.
whereas I feel maybe Kill Bill kind of was the end of maybe the second era of Tarantino sort of style. So I think Kill Bill is yeah, probably just edges it for me. I think, a lot of things he's made since have kind of are similar to the sort of style, I guess, of Django. But yeah, Kill Bill they're both incredibly iconic, but I think the iconography and the imagery of Kill Bill is slightly more up there. And the fact that, Joe said, if another director made Kill Bill, you watch 1 minute of it, that's just like a sort of a great nod to Tarantino's pull as a director.
Unless it's Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Kung Fu Panda, maybe.
Or Kung Fu Panda.
So yeah, I'll go with Kill Bill and leave the final decision to AJ once again.
Yikes. I love both of these movies. All three of these movies, in fact. I think Django, I like the first act of Django more than either of the two Kill Bills. I think the way that, like, in our cancel culture today, that movie is not canceled is a testament to the way that he like exposed the idiocracy of racism and stuff, and then just made it so ridiculous that it's shocking and it's like in your face, but that he's not being serious. And so Django is a really good movie to me, but I think in the second half of it, the pace starts to drag a little bit when they get to the candy plantation and all that jazz. And so I think I'm gonna go with Kill Bill on this one because
hurts me.
It's both movies. If it was
I
Django up against one of the Kill Bills, I think it would be a lot closer for me. But like the Kill Bill narrative in its completion is just so watchable. It's just so good. So yeah, I think we're gonna see Uma Thurman versus Uma Thurman in the next round.
AJ, pull your mic a little bit away from your face. All right, so second round here. Going to the final, we've got the 1 seed Inglourious Basterds up against the 5 seed Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
AJ can go first on this one, seeing as he's had to.
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. For all the reasons that I said about Reservoir Dogs, I mean, I love it. But I think Inglourious Basterds is the heavier weight in this matchup. Talking about movie styles and stuff, like the opening to Inglourious Basterds makes a glass of milk, like the most ordinary thing in the world, so fucking interesting, and when you think about a glass of milk in movie history, this is like the only one that comes to mind. Maybe there's two, but like I think that is a testament to just the creation of it and the way that he holds tension in the room. And Reservoir Dogs does that really well too, but I'll vote Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, I'm Inglourious Basterds all the way. It's the greatest opening scene probably in any movie.
But they switch up subtitles, as Dan will tell you.
I hate that. I hate it. I hate it so much. Honestly, I hate it so much. Like, I just think it's just cheap, and like, because the thing is, there's that whole thing about like he adores like vintage film and like and can't remember like all the terminology for it, but like, like you used to get like burn marks on the film and stuff like that, and those would translate into ending up in the final piece, in the final cut, and it was those mistakes are meant to sort of give kind of like the artist's impression on the whole piece, and there's some authenticity there that a human was part of this, and it's indexical and all of that stuff. But I just think in whatever Inglourious Basterds is made, probably like 2009, 2010, something like that. maybe a bit earlier, 2008.
Yeah, I think 2009.
I just think, you know, in that digital era of film where everything is checked a million times over by a million different people from a production company and studio, and I just think like editing in mistakes in the way that you think people are just going to go, oh, that's so cool, like I can't believe they made that little mistake. I just think like, nah, I'm not for that. I just think, and it just put me off the whole thing so much because I just thought it's like contrived, it's contrived mistakes and authenticity. It's just, I don't know, not for me, and it's a shame because it's put me off the whole film. If they change those subtitles and just put like, we either stick with the French one or put the English for the French, I'm fine with it. But like, that just annoyed me more than
Once
anything
that,
in
like,
any film ever.
weaves its way into your mind at the very beginning
Yeah,
of the movie.
you can't get rid of that.
Yeah,
It's hard
yeah.
to
It's like
shake.
a brainworm or whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I appreciate that it is like, you know, it is a great film. But I would probably, I'll stick with voting against it. And I probably will stick with voting against it throughout this whole thing.
but it is on to the
it goes
finals.
through 2-1. It goes through 2-1.
So now you've got the 2 seed Pulp Fiction versus 6 seed Kill Bills.
Kill Bills.
So
I mean,
I don't know if it's because I've seen it so many times, but for whatever reason, and I think it is just because of exhaustion. Pulp Fiction, to me, I watch it and I'm a little bit bored of it now. I don't know why. I think Kill Bill actually holds up better, but I think it's just because the narrative is so shifty, and like the first time you see it, you're like, oh my god, this is and then you watch it the second time, then everything starts to really make sense, and then after that, it's just like, okay, yeah, the scene is out of order and the scene is weird, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I recently watched it and I was like, I was like, I kind of could do without it. So I imagine it's gonna be 2-1 anyway. So, but I'm gonna pick Kill Bill here.
Wow, vote against Kill Bill first round.
Okay.
Push him through second round.
I mean,
Dan, AJ.
I'll go for this, Dan, because this may let you decide who wins this bracket. Because I don't think I would vote for Inglourious Bastards over either of these. These are probably my 2 favorite Tarantino creations. Maybe Django in there, but you know, we got both bills. I'm gonna vote Pulp Fiction. I feel you, Joe. I do. You know, and that's how I feel about certain bands like The Who and stuff that I just listened to way too much back in the day, and it doesn't have the same appeal. But I haven't seen Pulp Fiction in years, and I feel like the next time I watch it, it's gonna hit me just as hard. I think it's a brilliant piece of cinema history, and I don't know, it doesn't get old for me. But I won't let it, you know, like I won't watch it enough times or at least enough times in a single year to let myself begin to feel that way, just because I think it's so great. So I'll vote Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. For me, I think it's the same. I'm Pulp Fiction as well. I think it's one of those where, like, sometimes a director just makes a film that is like so perfect for them and their own kind of genre and skill set that they almost like might as well just like stop directing anything from that point onwards. And I felt that was the case with the Grand Budapest Hotel for Wes Anderson. Like, I just watched it and I just sat there and it was just like, wow. Like, every scene was just, okay, yeah, he's completed his career here. Like, this is it. Like, it's just a perfect example of what he can do. And I feel like that is kind of the same with Pulp Fiction. It's stylish, but it's good storytelling. It's, you know, A-list actors playing kind of quite gritty roles that are maybe outside of their kind of wheelhouse type thing. There's the one shot in it that, like, when I think of it, and I think, like, because I haven't seen it for a while, but there's always like one particular like shot or scene that you like remember and you think, okay, I'm here for that. And it's the one where like Bruce Willis goes back to his flat, and he parks up his car, and then he's like he parks up like a block away, and then he walks through the alleyway, and then he goes through a fence, and it's the tracking shot is just like so smooth through, like he goes through this like tiny little gap in the fence, and the track just follows him. And I can't remember if I watched like a behind the scenes thing on it or not, but I just, every time I see that shot, I'm just like, this film just does all of the small things so well, and I really respect that when people can do basic things at the absolute like top level of that whatever that thing is, and that doesn't mean necessarily film. It's just like anything in life. If you can do something that everyone can do but be the best at it, is incredible. And I just think that film has so many of those moments where I'm like, this is just a very normal, film. It's not like, and Kill Bill's kind of the opposite of that. Kill Bill's very over the top, very flashy, very intentionally loud and in your face, whereas Pulp Fiction I think is just subtly very, very good. And then you got the more kind of gimmicky things like the non chronological kind of storyline going on, or like jutting back and forward. But I just think Pulp Fiction is that one Tarantino film that's just like, he could have just retired after that. He could have just like stopped making films, and people still would have there would have still been podcasts doing brackets of Tarantino films 20 whatever years later, 18 years later.
It'd be a pretty small bracket.
Yeah.
If you didn't stop. I'm glad you're making
Jackie Brown,
films.
Pulp
Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. What is it, 94, 93, 94, or later?
94, yeah.
94, yeah. So what's that, 27 years this year. But I think if someone made Pulp Fiction this year and put it out, it would be just as, in exactly the same style, exactly the same stock used, it would blow up.
Yeah.
It would be huge. So that, for me, that puts it through against Inglourious Bastards for the
and
final.
I think we've had the final spoiled, but for the sake of debate here, we've got the 1v2. We've got Inglourious Bastards versus Pulp Fiction. I think we know where Joe and Dan are voting. Yeah. I think AJ's made it clear as well.
I've made it clear. I love Inglourious Bastards. I don't think that it's the movie that certain people who think it's the best Tarantino movie. Like I don't. Yeah.
Like this guy.
Case in point. I don't see it like that.
Simple-brained people.
I think it's a great movie, but it's not Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I'm like Joe. I just recently rewatched actually all of Tarantino's movies, and that's how I came up with
Just
this
on
list.
A whim?
Just kind of on a whim. And Pulp Fiction just didn't. It's great. It's still great, but it wasn't for me. Inglourious Bastards was better.
I think the biggest appeal of Pulp Fiction is like that novelty, uniqueness.
Yeah.
Like once you see it and it's the anticipation goes away. It's not the same.
But and there's still like amazing scenes and parts to it, but I think you still get that anticipation feeling when you're watching Inglourious Bastards, waiting for the movie theater scene. That's kind of how I felt. Whereas with Pulp Fiction, to me, you kind of said it with maybe Django, but to me, Pulp Fiction kind of drags on at points. But that's it. That's it for my region. There, we've got Pulp Fiction into the final four. Actually, feeling good about my chances this week of maybe winning the whole thing, because I think Pulp Fiction will be up there for you guys. And it will be up against, or no, I'm sorry. Joe, your bracket is up next. Tell us what you did this week.
So I have the greatest guitar solos, and these are not my personal favorites. Some are. I will say before we start, my two personal favorite guitar solos are Purple Rain, which is not on here, and Sultans of Swing, which is on here.
And why did you not include your favorite?
Because I wanted to put November Rain over Purple Rain, and in a technical sense, the Purple Rain solo is not as impressive as these. It's just the just kind of the scope of it to me is
and then you don't have to see it lose to anything.
Yes,
true.
true.
You can just hold
You
it.
can always know in your brain that.
I know. I'm not as cautious with the things that I love, and I let you guys,
Well, I don't.
talk about
I
them,
don't
so.
think. I don't think Purple Rain is the best. It's my personal.
Yeah, no, I
personal.
got you.
Cool.
Right. So we have the number 1 seed, Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd, and Layla, Derek and the Dominoes, Eric Clapton, Dwayne Allman.
In terms of song, I love Layla. I think it's such a great song. But in terms of guitar solo, gotta go Comfortably Numb. It's the 1 seed for a reason, I think.
I know.
I agree.
It's tough. I mean, Layla is such a good song and such a good guitar solo.
Yeah.
But then like the play out solo is also nice but not as powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Comfortably Numb is, if we're talking solos, that's the one.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, for the Tarantino movies, I almost did it in a ranking of what movie has the most feet seconds and how many
Bill
feet shots.
would kill that.
Yeah, and Kill Bill was going to be the 1 seed
feet.
with Once Upon a Time, the 2 seed, but I figured I didn't want to get into that whole discussion. But all right, Joe, what's next?
So we have 2 Eddie Van Halens. We have Eruption and Beat It.
AJ, do you want to start?
No.
Well, I'll start in the sense that I don't know whether I might have to just listen to Eruption because I'm not.
Eruption is the whole song is a solo.
Yeah.
It's the finger tapping,
Mm-hmm.
fast as lightning, beautiful melodic angelic creation. And
But is it a quantity quality thing? That's where I'm having trouble.
I don't know. I'll vote for Eruption just because it's the only like solo on here that takes the whole song. It's so good that there is no more song. It's just Eruption. I love Beat It, but I'll vote Eruption. You guys can duke it out.
This is Dan, I know you haven't heard I'm going to go Eruption as well.
Yeah.
It's a tough one though. I love the solo and Beat It, but yeah, it's I think it's Eruption for what you said, AJ. I mean, it's the whole song. It's that good. So
yeah, I'm happy with that. Send it through.
All right, Joe, other side of the bracket.
3-6, Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin, Sultans of Swing, Dire Straits.
So not only did you not have Purple Rain on here, but you have Sultans of Swing as your 6th seed.
Yeah.
Love it. Love that. Dan, do you want to start on this one?
Yeah, I'll go with like what am I more likely to what do I listen to more? And I respect Stairway to Heaven as one of the greatest songs of all time, but for me, Sultans of Swing is going to be way higher up on my Spotify, like most listened. So I'm putting Sultans of Swing through there.
AJ,
I'll vote Stairway to Heaven.
Of course,
love Sultans of Swing, but Zepp is my band. It's definitely not my favorite Led Zeppelin song. It's probably not my favorite Led Zeppelin solo, but year after year, you listen to the radio around Thanksgiving time, and they're saying greatest rock songs in history, and
1,043 best songs in history.
That's right, and Stairway takes the cake, so I'll give it my vote.
You ever think it's weird that list changes every year, despite the fact that all the songs are from the 60s and 70s?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's people voting.
Yeah, that's true. It is people voting. All right. I was hoping this wouldn't come down to me, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, AJ. Stairway to Heaven is not my favorite of their songs or solos. So I'm gonna go Sultans of Swing for that reason. And Dan, I'm with you. I love that song.
Yeah,
it's definitely listened to way more. So yeah, give me Sultans of Swing. Moves through. I think Joe just wanted to see his second favorite go through on an upset. I think is what that was right there.
2-7, Freebird, Leonard Skinner, and November Rain, Guns N' Roses.
I'm not a big Guns N' Roses guy. Say that off the bat. I've always found Freebird to be a little overrated. I don't know if I'm completely wrong on that, but I've just never really did it for me. So I get it. I get why people love it and why it's considered so great. But I'm gonna push through November Rain just because I think Freebird's a little overrated.
Are you gonna push it through? You're not even gonna let us
All
have a
right,
vote?
no, that's I run this show. I have control over the final. So yeah, I'm gonna push it right through.
You're going November Rain?
I'm going November Rain. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go Freebird. I love November Rain. I don't think that's my favorite Slash solo. But I know it's so iconic in its tone and its pace and everything. But Freebird, I think, is unique on this list because of just how common off the tongue it is, in association with famous guitar solos, like you don't get people screaming for November Rain at a Slayer concert or at any concert, but people will just shout Freebird for people who don't play Freebird. Yeah,
but that's so annoying to me. I hate that about Freebird.
It's super annoying, but I'm voting Freebird because it's iconic. It's an iconic guitar solo, and it deserves some recognition here.
So Dan, you have the deciding vote here.
I have the deciding vote. Yeah, I mean, Freebird is one of those songs where I think it's definitely growing up. It was always like, this is one of the greatest songs of all time, or this is, a lot of people say this is the greatest song of all time. And it's also, I think it was in San Andreas, right? GTA San Andreas. It was on the soundtrack for that. Not that should really, play into any of the consideration here, but I think it has to go through. It has to go through here for me. It'll be a tough next round for it to go through, but I think it's definitely worthy of going through this round. Sorry, Slash and November Rain, but yeah. So
yeah,
we've knocked out Clapton and Slash in the opening round, which is crazy.
Craziness. There's a lot of talent on this board.
What are we looking at for the semifinal here?
So we got a 1-4, Shock, Comfortably Numb, and Eruption.
I'll start on this one. I'm actually going to go with Eruption on this. The more I think about it, the more I just remember how much I like that song. It's so good, and it's just such a good solo. I mean, it's awesome. Obviously, Comfortably Numb is an incredible song too, but with an incredible solo. But yeah, give me Eruption.
Well, I'll put my thing in for. I know what I'm going to do after this. I'm going to go and listen to Eruption, and then I'll be like, "Oh my god, it's this!" Like, I just don't have it. It's not in my head at the moment. So and Comfortably Numb is Comfortably Numb. So like, based on that, versus an incredible song versus one that I can't actually at this point in time even recall knowing. I have to put through the number one seed, otherwise it would be obscene.
Yeah. I think I made my case for Eruption, with it, the whole song being a solo, but I think something that makes Comfortably Numb so great is the context of the song with which it's in, because it sets you up to just hit that solo, and when that solo hits you, it's just like, it can be overwhelming. Now, I'm frightened that voting Comfortably Numb here may, make this win the bracket, because I don't think it's my favorite Pink Floyd song.
Yeah.
But this.
You're frightened?
I'm frightened because Comfortably Numb is like Pulp Fiction for me with you, Joe. It's like I've listened to it too many times. It's like lost its pizzazz on me. But it is, it's that solo. So Comfortably Numb.
All right. So Comfortably Numb kind of predictably goes through.
I'm frightened.
Yeah, I could see the look on your face of how frightened you are by this potentially winning. Joe, who's it going to be up against here in the final?
So we got the favorite Freebird from 2 spot and Sultans of Swing, the 6th seed.
AJ, why don't you start on this one?
Guys, I'm struggling to bring to mind the solo in Sultans of Swing. I know the riff. Do, 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 and like I could jam on that all day, but can somebody refresh me on what the solo sounds like?
It's similar to Eruption. It's definitely tapping of some kind.
Okay.
It's
yeah.
It's like a fast
It's like a build
scale.
up, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's slow and then it's fast and then it's slow again.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I don't know this for certain. I would say that Eddie Van Halen probably was a little bit influenced by this.
Interesting. That's a good point. I'm gonna go with Sultans of Swing because
Okay.
I think that's a good point, and I think that Freebird, for the like conglomeration that it is in pop culture, like James said, it's also kind of gets annoying because who wants someone to scream someone else's song when you're trying to play a concert?
Yes.
But so yeah, I guess Freebird kind of has that Achilles heel where it's almost gotten too big. Okay, Sultans of Swing.
Dan, I want you to have a vote, but I've made it clear I'm not voting against. I'm not voting for Freebird in this bracket.
No,
so.
I think it's a 3-0 here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You should take some time after this, AJ, to listen to Sultan Swing. Do you need to listen to it now to refresh
before we go into the final?
Yeah.
No, I mean I know the song. I like this. One of my friends always tells me this story from when he's in high school. They had like a boxing club, like a sparring club or something, or maybe he was just getting into a regular fight. I don't fucking know. But they would play songs for like your entrance music or whatever. And he chose Sultans of Swing because he really loves the song and he's Sultans of Swing. But like he was going up against this other guy who was like much bigger than him, and he got his ass whooped to this song. So then that's become, whenever I hear this song, I think of my friend getting beat up.
All right, cool. Well, despite that story, which I almost wish I heard before we voted, Sultans of Swing goes through to the final. Joe, what's our final matchup here?
So Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd, and Sultans of Swing, even though AJ can't remember the solo.
I can't remember the solo.
Dan, why don't you start this one since you didn't really have a counted vote last time?
Yeah, this. I think this is the right final for me.
Yeah, me too.
I just listened to Eruption as well, and it's I can see why it's on the list, but I didn't particularly recognize it, so I don't know whether it might be a bigger thing within your friendship, like you guys, than it is like internationally. Would it be Would it be on top lists of?
It would definitely be on top.
It's definitely top list.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I don't think we've ever discussed this song before, so it's not like
yeah.
We're just sitting around listening to it.
I think I'm gonna stick with the underdog on this one, and give Sultans of Swing the vote. For me, it's really close. I feel like out of the brackets today, this might be my kind of my least expertise in this one. But yeah, Sultans of Swing, again, going on like what I would probably choose to listen to, one over the other would be Sultans of Swing. So my very basic input there as the first vote of the final.
AJ, I'll give you
the final.
Well, guess we're both voting for Comfortably Numb.
I guess so. Dan's going for the underdog. We're going for the overdog.
Yeah, it's Comfortably Numb. It just is. I mean, I know I voted against the last round, but I think Eruption was a better opponent than Sultans of Swing. As much as I love Sultans of Swing, but AJ, what was your thought on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thought that I had for it in the last round. It's just, it's that song, it's that solo. So true. I've seen Dave Gilmour play it live twice, and they play it for like over 10 minutes and it doesn't get old, and he adds to the solo and he changes the solo, but it's still like the venue for a guitar solo amidst that song is just spectacular.
Yep, absolutely. AJ, let's move to your bracket.
All right. Well, I had a really creative idea for my region this week, and it got shot down. But I want to at least tell the people what they were missing out on, because I've been reading the comments. You guys want to spice things up a little bit, and so I thought I could have them vote on sex positions. And I think if I was involved in the conversation, it would get wildly inappropriate right away. But I thought that I trusted the three of you guys to navigate it in such a way that we would not get our YouTube license revoked and keep things, scientific while you talk about, the forces at work, between 69 and doggy style. But we're not going to have that conversation. I've tried to not be bitter about it. So I was, just thinking of, well, what's the least interesting thing I could pick? And right there in front of me on the kitchen table was a bottle of ketchup. So condiments.
I'm glad you decided instead of just picking another interesting thing, you picked the least interesting.
Yes. I may have gotten a little bitter about it, but it's okay. I understand you guys may not have even tried all the sex positions. So, maybe you just weren't confident in talking about them.
Yep, let's do condiments.
In the first round, we have the number 1 seed, ketchup, against the number 8 seed, relish.
Ketchup for me, boys.
Yeah, ketchup.
This is fun.
Ketchup's very hard to vote against. Relish, I feel like relish is not a standard thing across the board, right?
Nah, relish.
Lots of different types of relish.
You get sweet relish, yeah.
So yeah, I would go with ketchup, tomato ketchup.
Okay. Take things out back to the barbecue. We got hot sauce versus barbecue sauce.
Joe, why don't you start on this one?
This could be the quickest bracket of all time, by the way.
Yes,
we should.
Yeah,
it's okay. Your guys were so interesting this week. We needed something to just kind of get through.
Maybe we should just throw out answers? Yeah, let's speed round it.
I'll go barbecue.
Yeah, I'm on barbecue.
Oh no, you've messed me up there. All right, so barbecue sauce goes through. Other side of the bracket, AJ.
Here we got oil and vinegar. Oh, I'm sorry. We got the mustards. Honey mustard versus mustard.
Honey mustard is the only acceptable kind of mustard, except for Dijon. Dijon's great in certain things, but yeah, give me honey mustard.
Honey mustard here as well.
Yeah, I mean, honey mustard's going through. I think mustard, like the yellow, like the American kind of mustard, is nice on hot dogs. I'm not as much of a fan of Dijon mustard, but yeah, honey mustard I think is an upset here, but it goes through anyway.
So good on everything.
I'm happy to see that upset. I truly am. All right, and the final first round matchup, we got oil and vinegar versus oil and vinegar plus eggs. Mayonnaise.
I was gonna make that joke. But yeah, here I was actually quite happy to see oil and vinegar on there. Is that as in like olive oil? So olive oil with some balsamic vinegar in it. Yeah. Like I like
that. Or like red wine vinegar or whatever.
Yeah. Dipping some bread in that is nice. It's very bougie, I would say, compared to mayo. Mayo's like middle of the road standard, like one of the 3 kingpins of sauces I think in the UK, along with probably ketchup and barbecue. So I'm gonna have to vote for mayo just based on stature.
I'm voting mayo as well because yesterday I picked up sandwiches. One had oil and vinegar, one had mayo. 30 minutes later, we ate the sandwiches, and the one with oil and vinegar was just soaked, sopping wet. Yeah. And the mayo one was perfect. So mayo holds up better. Joe, do you even eat either of these?
I eat mayo. I eat a lot of mayo. Yeah, mayo all the way.
All right.
Mayo man. All right. Well, Got a nice matchup heating up here. Ketchup versus barbecue sauce. What do you guys use more?
Ketchup for me.
Ketchup.
So is it 2 ketchups? I would go with we're a barbecue sauce household here.
Really? Well,
yeah. So I think,
iconic.
but like given the choice of of a ketchup or a barbecue dip, I would take barbecue like probably 9 times out of 10. But I respect ketchup as one of the goats of the probably the goat of the condiment industry.
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
Put
but
it
it's
on
a 2
everything.
to 1. It's not a landslide. 2 to 1.
Okay.
All right, and mayo versus honey mustard to go into the finals.
I can start if you want. You can't make honey mustard without mayo. And so I'm going mayo.
Yeah.
Yeah, mayo
I'll agree
3-0.
with that.
Okay. Now this is the matchup everybody's been waiting for. Mayo, ketchup, mayo chup. You mix them together, add a little
Yeah.
relish. You got Thousand Island. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, people. What do we got here going into the final 4?
And as a barbecue sauce household, what are you going here?
Yeah, I mean at this point, I think ketchup comes into the game for me over mayo. I think mayo on its own can be quite like sickly. So like if you had fries or chips, we would call them, and you could have ketchup or mayo, I think you wouldn't want just like unlimited amounts of mayo.
No. You ever made mayo? Talk about sickly. It's
yeah.
grosses
And
me
also
out.
like
It's
these
disgusting.
two together, these two work really, really well together.
Yeah.
But I feel like individually ketchup sort of exists on its own better than mayo does on its own. So yeah, if we're talking about strictly just like a condiment to either dip things in or add to something, I think we go with ketchup. Although I wouldn't really want ketchup in too many like added to things like sandwiches or
I want it on everything. Give me ketchup on everything.
Oh.
I love ketchup.
Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, I will go with
Only
ketchup
kind I'll use.
on this.
Is that 3? Is that a clean sweep, Joe? Or are you going ketchup as well?
I'll take mayo just because the mayo it can save a sandwich real quick.
But so could ketchup. I like this matchup in the final 4.
If this was the UK, we would have had salad cream would have made it on there, which would have probably been oil and vinegar. It probably would have replaced oil and vinegar or honey mustard.
Salad cream. See, I was kind of hoping that somebody would mention mayo's versatility in stuff other than just putting on something, but putting it in, like
tuna mayo.
coleslaw,
Egg salad.
tuna salad, chicken salad, pasta salad, every salad. Anyway.
I can't live without ketchup. I can live without mayo. I love mayo.
Understood.
Because that was my thought. Like you couldn't have tuna ketchup. You wouldn't mix some ketchup into a
but you're not having a bacon, egg, and cheese with mayo on it either. So
yeah, because you've already got eggs in there.
Yeah.
And you've got a yolk for the sauce. Yeah, no, I agree. I think ketchup still is
sauce.
The kingpin. Yeah, hollandaise, garlic and herb sauce, spicy mayo. Spicy mayo may have been a different different option.
Chipotle mayo.
Great.
Yeah.
Chipotle mayo.
I'm starting to think we might have messed up here. Mayo is very versatile, but it's ketchup. Still ketchup. Dan, let's do your bracket. Maybe a little more intrigue than the condiments.
Yeah, so this is very, very open. I'm not like putting any this is not like music from this era or I don't know, films or anything in particular. It's just the era itself, so you guys can kind of take it in whatever direction you want and give whatever reasons you want for these eras. But I've taken the last 8 complete decades, so we're not counting the 2020s. And matchup 1 is the 1 seed, the 1980s, versus the 8 seed, 1950s.
Just keep in mind that if you vote for the 50s, you're basically voting for segregation. So
exactly,
vote for the 80s.
That's the other thing. I mean, these decades mean different things in different areas, don't they?
Now, the 50s was a very, stubborn time to people, who were fighting for equal rights.
It was
and
maybe the worst
representation.
decade, the worst like American decade.
I mean, no, yeah, I did put it
You
in
know?
at the 8 seed, so
It's like the modern American Dark Ages. What came out of the 50s? I guess Elvis, but
So we'll push the 80s through on that, I think.
okay. Joe, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with the 80s for now.
Cool. Then we have the 4 seed 1960s up against the 5 seed 2010s.
Joe, why don't you start since we kind of swept the vote there in the last one.
2010s were tremendous. They're going to go down really, really highly in history. Besides, the last 3-4 years might not have been great. But I love the 2010s.
You love the 2010s. I see.
do.
You say tremendous. I think traumatic. I think, not for myself particularly, but I think that a lot of people like on the internet have been saying that like, oh, this is 2015 is the worst year ever. And then 2016.
When's 2016 gonna end?
Yeah, and then 2016 is the worst year ever. Then 2017 is the worst year ever. And people just been complaining more and more and more. I'm gonna vote for the 60s because of the freedom and love hippie movement and the beginning of some real great music and psychedelic influence.
So I think what you're saying actually helps my case because the standard of living was so high. The people were like something a small thing would change and be like, whoa, 2015 needs to end because of how good
because a gorilla got shot.
Were. Yeah, right. That was our biggest thing. Like gorillas.
We're spoiled motherfuckers.
Yeah.
All right, so this leaves me with the deciding vote.
Yeah.
All right, so there's only one decade that John Stamos tweeted at me, Hashim Thabit blocked me on Twitter, and Aaron Carter texted me, and it's not the 1960s. So I'm going with the 2010s as well.
Yeah, so the 2010s advance through, and they'll face the 1980s in the next round. Then we have the 2 seed 1990s. Shout out, I think, to the decade that we were all born. And the 7 seed war-torn 1940s.
Man, this is a tough matchup here.
I think it's pretty much an on par matchup as the first one we voted on.
Absolutely.
There's not much appeal with the 40s.
Nah.
You got Frank Sinatra.
You could go to clubs and swing. Or, you might see a lady's ankles if you got lucky.
There was still Pony Express in certain places.
Yeah.
Delivering the mail by mule.
Yeah, no, that's if I ever had a time machine, I would go no further back than 1990. So I gotta go with the 1990s.
If I had a time machine, I would go back way before this century or millennium.
Not for me. Thanks.
Oh.
No thanks. Keep
Do you
that
think it's
disease
still like
and that
if you went
stench
back to
yourself.
like I don't know, yeah, what you're saying. So like 2,000 years ago or whatever, or more than that, like 10,000 years ago, do you think that everything would just feel the same? Like you think it would just look, obviously it's going to look so different, but like you're going to be in like a barren kind of landscape or an untouched kind of wilderness. But would you still feel the same as a as a person?
No,
you can't get any cell service out here.
But yeah,
I don't know. I think at every generation, we become more complex creatures. So
yeah,
I might feel like a deity going back 10,000
well,
years.
what if it's the other way around?
I have.
What if you go back 10,000 years and you're a fool, you're an idiot, and they're already geniuses?
This guy can't make fire with 2 sticks. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, can't hunt. Yeah, true. All right. Well, next up we have the 3 seed 2000s versus the 6 seed 1970s. So we got what, Bush versus
I'm coming
Nixon,
in first.
is it?
I
don't know who your presidents were in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of good memories you guys had in the 2000s, but I wasn't. That was like middle school and high school bullshit. The 70s is what I was listening to and learning about during the 2000s and thinking, man, that was such a great time, like um 1970s. It's got the culture, it's got the flavor. People are exploding out of the boxes that society was trying to stuff them into, beginning to think for themselves. 70s, baby.
Yo, I'm unsure. So if I want to hear, what you have to say before I make my decision.
2000s. I'm pretty much going to go recency on all these.
Mm.
This is how I am. It's
Yeah, are we gonna have 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s?
It's really a shame, but that's just how it's going to be. I appreciate the cultural influence of the 70s, but I think the day-to-day influence of the 2000s, the whole computer revolution, pretty important. So I'm going to pick 2000.
But 9/11, so you just voted for 9/11, I guess, is what you want to happen. So I'm going to go with the 1970s. So real nice, Joe.
Mr. Undecided over here. Yeah, right.
I knew what I was voting the whole time. I just wanted Joe to say the 2000s. Nah, it's the 70s. The 70s. I love. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of great advances and everything in the 2000s, but I think the 70s were a cool era, like AJ said. Cool era to study. So give me the 70s.
I feel like the 70s maybe in the States are quite similar to the 60s maybe in the UK. It sounds like that.
Yeah.
Most of AJ's reasoning
Definitely.
sounded like what we would say about the 60s.
Well, it was from like the UK. The British invasion influence, and everything comes over, and then it like really took place.
Yeah.
Probably the breast British invasion.
AJ still got the sex positions on his.
Yes. Yeah. You can try and get them in there.
No, I'm over here groping myself.
So this is where it gets quite tough. We have the 1 seed 1980s versus the 5 seed 2010s as our first semi-final.
AJ, Joe, one of you guys want to start?
I mean, I'm adamantly not thinking that 2010s were, when we look back in the scope of history, like what is that characterized by? Just a lot of annoying people complaining about shit on the internet? I mean,
because of how good it was. The 80s was the Reagans who
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get into the debate here, but it's the 2010s existed because of the 80s.
You had 8 years of Reagan or 4 years of Trump, basically, is what you're voting on here. I'm going.
I'm not voting on the presidents. I'm thinking about the culture.
But we're talking about eras and
people going out and like experimenting with new music and drugs.
The 2010s is a totally experimental music era.
I actually don't think you're giving the 2010s enough credit.
I think the 2010s,
I think it's a polarizing decade.
I think the 2010s, like a lot of what made that great is stuff that was like came from the 80s. You
can say that about any decade.
Well, 80s to the 50s. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
No, but like, okay, the rebirth of electronic music, like 80s techno, end of disco into techno, and then like, that kind of underground scene turning into it becoming like mainstream and having festivals with
and then 20, I can listen to in my car on my phone in the 2010s.
and
still exists.
Shout out Uncle Michael here, because never forget Bob Dylan invented rap. But yeah, no, I think you gotta go. I think the 2010s are going to be one of the most talked about decades, in historically 30, 40, 50 years from now. It's a completely polarizing decade. So much stuff took place. Plus, it was such like a formative time in I think all of our lives, especially me and Joe, like to go from high school to college to post grad, and I think it's cool to experience like an entire decade like that. So for me, I gotta go 2010s here. So he says great movies though. So
is that 2-1?
2-1, yep.
Cool. And then we have the 2 seed 1990s up against the 6 seed 1970s.
I'm a 90s kid through and through, RT, if you're a true 90s kid. So I got to go with the 90s. Great television, great movies, great music. All holds up.
I'm gonna stick with my range here, 60s to 80s. It's an era that I romanticize,
Yeah.
and I
Because
love
you
the
didn't live in
90s.
it.
I
You
know
would
I
have
love.
hated it if you lived in it, I feel.
No, I think I would have thrived in it. I love the 90s. There's a lot of cool stuff. I loved having a Game Boy Pocket. Like people in the 70s would have loved to have the
Best
technology I
clothing.
had.
Yeah.
But it was technologically, it was kind of an awkward decade, with that transition from analog to digital, and like the technology really wasn't quite there yet. We didn't really know. So like, for that, I'm not thinking the 90s should be in the finals. I think that 70s, I mean, there was so much progress there. I mean, I just recently figured out that in the 60s, like they finally passed laws where women could have their own bank accounts, and then like began the idea that like women can have money and own things of their own, and like that's a very progressive thought. And I think that the people who really pushed that kind of change through opened it up for us to have a much better future that we've been existing in. And so I will stick with my repping those olden days.
But little counterpoint here for the 70s, they didn't have access to Trump the board game. So, I mean, makes you think.
So then, Joe, you've got the deciding vote here: 70s versus.
See, the problem is that we have different philosophies here. Where
Yeah.
AJ is you're romanticizing the culture and the innovation by forgetting that stuff is here now. It's all still here. So I think this is just a personal thing of mine. I get what you're saying. It's a simpler time, and I think that is appealing in many ways. I wish I didn't have social media, but it also makes life a lot easier. I mean, if the pandemic had hit in the 70s, I mean, who knows what happens to the human race,
Yeah.
So I'm going 90s, and I hate that this is the way I'm doing it, because it's almost blind, where I'm just like, okay, what's more recent? Okay, yeah, I'm sending that through. So I'm almost.
So I guess we know what's going to win here too, huh?
Yeah,
Which sucks that I hate that's why I have to do this, but I have to stay true to my values here. Sorry.
It's okay. We'll forgive you.
Okay, so we have a final then between the 5 seed 2010s and the 2 seed 1990s. I guess should we go AJ first on this one?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think y'all know where I'm going. I'm going with the older time. I love the 90s. I think that awkward transition in technology was very much exciting, and seeing cartoons with people like video chatting and stuff, and then seeing that come to life makes that a special time. But I will not side with the time when it actually came to life. I will go for the inspiration of that technology that drove us to the technology that we have today.
I'm sorry, what did you vote on?
90s.
90s. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm going 2010s. It's easy for me.
Yeah, well, we're on the edge of our seats to see which way Joe will go.
Yeah. So 2010s goes through as the winner, the 5 seed. Dan, how do you feel about this? I feel like you're more like AJ.
Yeah, I think. I think that, to be honest, the 2000s probably didn't get as much credit as it deserved. I think.
Once James made the 9/11 comment, there was really no.
Yeah, I mean that's hard. That's hard.
He just squashed that.
But I think a lot of the things that made it's the same argument. It's a lot of the things that made the 2010s good actually came about in the 2000s. Really, in terms of digital revolution and access to things and technology, I think really kind of took off in the 2000s and then continued to do so in the 2010s and does so now. But yeah, I think it's very hard. As all of us as sort of like young adults, it's tough to look too far back past the 70s or sorry the 90s, because it's only really what we envisaged that era to be like, and what we've been told or read, and often that is through a rose tinted kind of glasses as well, of the good times. So yeah, I don't really have a problem with the 2010s making it through. And I think the 2010s as well, the standout moment for the UK was obviously having the Olympics in 2012, and 2012 is very much feels like one of the best years that the UK ever had, or at least in my lifetime. 2012 was a very good year. So for that reason, yeah, I'm happy for the 2010s to go through. I do like the 90s in terms of the cultural side of things, and the TV shows and the cartoons and everything that I grew up watching. But someone from the 80s would say that about the cartoons from the 80s and vice versa and stuff. So it's an entirely subjective round, but I'm glad to see that we did come to a decision on the winner. So we go into the final bracket.
We've got some great matchups here. Some I'm pretty excited about here in the final bracket. We'll start with the 1 versus 4. We've got Pulp Fiction up against the 2010s.
Do we? Oh, I thought we had Pulp Fiction against Comfortably Numb. Never mind.
No, I just did them 1 through 4 in terms of how we did the regions. So.
Oh, I'm glad, because that would have been too tough of a matchup, but we may get there anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Ketchup's on the other side.
Damn, I really wanted to defend Ketchup against the 2010s. Damn it.
Anyone want to start on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. Like,
I think we're gonna have splits for both of these.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think purely based on what I said about, I'd probably slightly rank the 2000s over the 2010s. Whereas I wouldn't within its own region, I wouldn't be ranking anything above Pulp Fiction. So based on that, I will put Pulp Fiction as my vote.
I'm gonna go with the 2010s. Little integrity there. Dan voted against his that he brought to the table. I'll vote against mine. But the 2010s meant a lot more to me than Pulp Fiction ever has.
Yeah,
so
it's hard for me to vote for Pulp Fiction in this bracket when I didn't vote for it in the Tarantino movie bracket.
Yes,
yeah. I'm there with Dan though, because Pulp Fiction is.
Dude,
I think the quintessential Tarantino
Are we gonna be
movie.
flipping seeds again, or
for
whatever?
what it is and where it came from, it's the best of that. And I don't think the 2010s are like, they would be one of my last decades. I had fun in college in the beginning of the 2010s. Then the rest of the 2010s, I was selling my soul to a corporation to pay off my debt. So
yeah, that is kind of my reasoning as well.
See, I think Dan, we should have framed the decade thing differently. It should have just been what came of the. I appreciate the loose leash on it when you said, take this how you will, and we each kind of had our own agenda for it. I think if you just said what came of this era culturally, I think it would have been a much different thing.
Well, also taking Pulp Fiction over an entire 10 years of time
is insanity.
10 years of events that happened, and you took Pulp Fiction.
Well, Harambe, so
it's true.
There's that. You can't vote for a dead gorilla. I mean,
hey, he lived in the 2010s though too. So come on.
Right,
Dan,
so we're flipping.
Just doing the coin flip.
Yeah,
we'll have a dining out gift card. One side of it is more blue than the other. So we'll go with the blue side is.
Do 2010s because we're
the blue side's the
Harambe.
bottom and the top. Yeah. So I'll just drop it from here and we'll see what happens. It's gone. That was up. So 2010s goes through. 2010s
goes through. Good. That's
not
what
evenly
should
weighted.
Through.
It's got a card on
it has a
side.
card on one side. True.
True.
But yeah, it's the way it goes. So 2010s.
Now we've got the 2 seed Comfortably Numb up against the 3 seed Ketchup. Both 1 seeds in their own regions. Yo, you want to start here?
So like AJ, Comfortably Numb is not my favorite Pink Floyd song.
Yeah.
So I could go without comfortably numb existing, going without ketchup would be tough.
Yep.
Mm.
I second it. I second that.
Wow.
I don't think it's even. Honestly, I don't even think it's close. I
Yeah.
think ketchup.
I
runs away
was
with
gonna
this.
vote ketchup against the decade because the decade is just the decade, but ketchup stands the test of time. I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
That is fair.
ketchup and
I think
life have become
movie over.
synonymous.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I can't believe ketchup is gonna beat comfortably numb.
Yeah,
Though.
I think it
That's
smokes the field.
unbelievable.
It
Oh
smokes
Who
it.
wow!
said it is?
Oh
I mean,
my!
it dropped one
guys.
point earlier, didn't it, to barbecue sauce?
Yeah, it
by
did.
me, but
And to
Um,
mayo, actually, as well.
oh, and
Who
1
said
point
it's
to
gonna
mayo.
lose? I thought it was gonna be 2-2.
No, I'm voting ketchup.
That's
Wait.
unanimous Final Four decision
Yeah.
on ketchup over the song "Comfortably Numb." What is life?
It should have been Pulp Fiction versus Comfortably Numb, Ketchup versus 2010s. But now we end up with two titans. We've got the 2010s
wow.
versus Ketchup, and this is
egregious,
the
guys.
toughest-
How did we let this happen? Ugh.
this is the toughest decision I've ever made in my life.
Well,
So-
I'm gonna start out because I already
Yeah.
told you what I was
like
gonna
that
say.
thinking. Yeah.
Ketchup is bigger than the 2010s. We've been making ketchup since the medieval days. I mean, it's tomato and vinegar and salt, and you put that on shit to make it more palatable. I mean, ketchup will always be a part of human culture. So, for
Yeah.
those reasons, I'm saying ketchup.
And it's and across, like you say, across all of the decades listed in that, and the decades round, ketchup was sold as the
was
number
there.
one thing to use with
I'm
your
gonna
food.
win a round.
So I think I'm gonna have to put my vote in for ketchup. I mean,
Joe?
I respect the 2010s, but yeah, I think it's too early to say what the key takeaways from the 2010s was, and it was kind of in the UK it was quite a rough decade in terms of politically. After the Olympics, everything kind of fell apart. So ketchup is kind of just been nice and stable for us in the UK. So we'll go with that.
Joe?
I love the ketchup stands the test of time. That it was here before the 2010s. It's going to be here long after 2010s. But again, you're picking a condiment over 10 years. So if I'm clowning you for picking a movie over 10 years, I have to stay consistent. I've made my bed here. I have to stay consistent. I have to pick the 2010s.
I was hoping it would be unanimous, but we'll go
wait,
3-1. Ketchup. Oh,
Wow.
I was going to say, before you cast your vote, you have to remember that we are going to put in all the four brackets that win, or the four winning things, will then have their own bracket within
Because
that.
I don't really want to deal with the 2010s again. So just get ketchup in there.
But we're gonna have to think of a whole bracket within ketchup, which is
That's fine.
the problem.
That's
we could
fine.
That's
do
going to be
brands
AJ's job. So
of
Oh
ketchup,
my
I guess.
God.
But
That's fine.
whereas there's more things within the 2010s that you could have for
Ketchup.
that.
No, you can do that, AJ. I already think of multiple
Yeah,
things.
I-
You
I-
have
I-
ketchup
I-
on the dipping ketchup.
Right.
You have ketchup
Yeah.
from the fountain thing.
Things that rhyme with ketchup.
yeah. So we now have the Rolling Stones, Jack Black, and ketchup.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sitting here at the beginning of this episode thinking man, you guys thought of such great categories. I am never gonna win one of these. I will never have something of my own.
Yeah.
And it's ketchup.
Yeah, I feel the
Uh,
ketchup one though is a bit like doing ice hockey players and having Wayne Gretzky on the board.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just like an ultimate
definitely,
winner within its category.
definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah. So all right, well we've got ketchup as the winner. So I'm happy to see it. Ketchup runs my life. So I like that. Always got to have ketchup in the house. Joe, Dan, me and you, we've yet to win a bracket. So
one more week.
I've yet to even make it to the finals. So at least you've made it to the finals.
Yeah, 2010s. Yeah.
One more week. So we're going to do one more week of these random brackets. Then, like we said, we'll have the 4 winners. We'll have their own brackets. And I guess we'll hit the final 4 of Jack Black, Rolling Stones, Catch Up, and then whoever makes it through in this 4th one. So that was great. That was great, guys. Great show all around. Anybody want to plug anything before we end it here? No plugs.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah,
AJ,
we should tell people to watch the weekly wrap up on SNG.
Yes.
Fucking
Yes.
hilarious.
Check out the weekly wrap up, SNG Network. We do it every week. You can find it right here. Just hit subscribe. Joe, take us out. Final words this week.
Final words this week. I want to know, James, who is your Masters pick right now?
I don't know. I'm so distracted by the garbage disposal in behind me. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I don't know. I want to see Matsuyama hold on, but I feel like there's no way. I got to go Justin Rose.
So quick gambling opinion before we leave. I've realized since I can't bet anymore, the sport I actually miss betting on most is golf by far.
It's the best sport to bet on by far. Yeah.
Truly miss it. Like I
I
really
don't
don't
think
miss
I've ever
betting
heard
on
of
other
someone
sports.
betting on golf.
Oh, it's the best.
What?
Is
You
it all
haven't?
just like prop bets? Like who's gonna
No,
make
you
the
just
longest
bet on
putt,
like who's
or-
gonna win, who's
No,
gonna
just
make
who's
the
gonna
call.
win.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can go head to head though. You can just pick like we give you 2 random golfers and you
Yeah.
pick who it's electric because it's so drawn out and I really do miss betting on golf. So
Yeah.
that's,
I got to back my man
that's all
Justin
I'm doing.
Rose and put that out there.
Yeah, I got to go Rose too. I just think most experience, and I think he's been consistently playing the best. Matsuyama had the kind of crazy round yesterday. I actually think he's going to shoot 4 over today. That's my prediction.
Love it.
What do you think, Joe?
I think he holds on.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll see.
With the weather's all wonky, it's gonna be a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
I think he holds on. I don't think it's enough for somebody to get hot.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up, and we'll be back with another bracket next week.